Hey guys, what's up and welcome to the channel. I'm the Shotgun Shogun, and well, you probably were wondering, actually you probably weren't wondering where the Infinite Library has been, but we have not done an Infinite Library since August 2nd. I actually had to look that up because I couldn't remember what the last Infinite Library was that we did. However, we are going to be revitalizing this. As you can see, it is a little bit different than it used to be. We are going to try to have at least one streamer or content creator and one non-streamer or content creator. This is something that I've wanted to do for a little bit now, so that way we can give a little bit of voice to maybe some of the people that, you know, are very hardcore about this game that aren't content creators, and maybe show off some smaller known content creators like Mevlin. Mevlin, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, I'm Mevlin. Like Shogun said, I'm a fairly new content creator. I stream on Twitch. Trying to stream on YouTube, but I'm a bit pig at it, but you know, I gotta try. I do some tournaments now and then. I'm well known, I'd say, for playing Blingo and Lilius Cleave with Ken. I have a lot of weird builds too, so I stream every day from 9 p.m. PST onwards. If you guys want to hang out, go check me out. Twitch.tv/MevlinTV.
Yep. And the next person we have on, if you are familiar in the slightest with Twitch and Twitch chat, I'm sure that you have seen Caerliss in there. I do believe that Caerliss is simultaneously in just about every single Twitch chat that exists for Epic 7 at all times. And all you have to do is say his name 3 times or talk about how much gold he has, and then he comes out of nowhere and he's like, wait, did somebody was somebody saying something about me? Caerliss, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Shotgun. But yeah, I'm Caerliss. I'm the guy who's probably lurking in every single chat. I also always have this spicy take that seems to go against every popular opinion in Epic 7. Team captain of mullahs are fine. I think gold is fine, and I probably have the opposite popular take of every single controversial topic that has ever been discussed in this game. So if there's anybody that you need to play devil's advocate, please reach out to me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's actually, like, when I was thinking about who to bring on for the first one, it was immediately Caerliss, because like he said, if there is a hot take, he is probably on the opposite side of that, which is actually is good and bad, because, well, you don't always want an echo chamber, and, you know, having that hash out there is pretty good. Though I do think sometimes Caerliss does it just to be spicy. He's like, you know what, I actually don't think that this is fine, but we're just gonna do this today. And last but not least is Kyojin. Kyojin, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello everybody. I'm also a fairly new content creator. I started a few months ago. I'm from Australia, and these questions always boggle me because I never know what to say.
Yeah, it's always tough. I think Kyojin probably best known for being one of the other absolute mad lads to try to push for legend on the last day of the last official season. Rough, very, very rough. It's actually a question that we will be talking about a little bit today, just because the end of the RTA season is coming up. So we're going to get into question number 1 right out of the gate. This is going to be, what are the advantages and disadvantages of climbing the RTA ladder at the end versus the beginning of the season? Now, I do know a lot of people like Caerliss, some of the other legend tier players, they do wait until the last week and a half, and then they climb really, really hard. It's, in my opinion, a bit different for a content creator versus a non-content creator, right? Because as a content creator, you want to climb, you want to produce that content, whereas a non-content creator has the luxury of climbing whenever they feel like it, and, you know, absolutely stomping the bronze and gold players on their way up. And you got that obviously generates a lot of fun Facebook posts and Reddit posts and stove posts about how they got dumpstered by a should-be legend player on the run up. But Mevlin, what is your take on this as a content creator?
It's all about the amount of information you have, because us as content creators, it kind of goes both ways, where it's an advantage and disadvantage, because we have information on other players because we play with them a lot, right? But at the same time, those players have a lot of information about us. While someone like Caerliss, like, well, a lot of people already know what Caerliss has, but at the same time, you don't really know what he's planning for the season. So it's all about like what we know and what people know. I don't think there's not the much of an advantage or disadvantage either way. I think it balances out really too. That's what I think.
Yeah, and Caerliss, what's your take on this as somebody I know who does typically wait until around the end of the season to climb?
So it really has its pros and cons. I would say that the pro of it is you aren't stressed out the entire season. It also gives you the chance to kind of work on other things such as building certain units, getting your draft ready for when you do finally decide to climb, and you get to really set your own pace. Now, I would say the cons probably definitely outweigh the pros for most people. For one, you have to be really confident in your ability to climb during those last 2 or 3 weeks whenever you do decide to make that rush. But also, you have the benefit of knowing when the RTA season's going to end, such as the day before Thanksgiving, which is going to definitely cause some issues for climbing for, I would assume, a lot of people. So, in my case, it gives me an idea to really look at it and think, am I really going to have time to make that final legend climb on the last day? And do I really want to go through the stress of trying to get to that point in the weeks leading up to that? So, it has its pros, it has its cons. It's definitely has the opportunity to become a much more stressful time, especially because you always have the legend ladder climbing higher and higher while you're also trying to catch up with everybody. So it really comes down to what kind of person you are. If you have confidence in the climb, then go for it. But if you aren't so sure about the meta and if you're going to be able to maintain a good win percentage, then it could be rough.
Yeah, and you brought up the fact that obviously it ends on Thanksgiving, right? So a lot of people, especially like in the States, this is and somebody actually brought this up to me. I forget who I was talking to, but they were like, doesn't that kind of bone you guys in the States a little bit, because a lot of people are good, even though obviously Thanksgiving is going to be a little rough this year around, but when it does end on like a holiday type thing, it is a little bit rough, right?
Right. So one PSA there, because I actually thought that this was the case too. So it's not actually on Thanksgiving. It's on Thanksgiving if you look at the Korean time. But if you actually look at the countdown, it's Wednesday night at, I believe,
okay.
10 p.m. Eastern. So...
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, because I guess that makes sense, right? Because every time you see information about, oh, this patch is happening, this thing is ending, it's always Thursday, which just translates into Wednesday for most NA people, and like the 7 or 8 EU people that play on the EU server. But regardless, yeah, so one of the things that you pointed out there was if you are confident in your draft. Now, Mevlin pointed out something as well, in that if you climb later in the season, right? Let's be real. Shuffles plays 6,000 matches a season. I don't think that Shuffles actually ever sleeps or stops playing RTA, because no matter when I queue up, at some point or another in my climb day, I'm going to go up against Shuffles anywhere from 1 to 17 different times, because I don't think that he's an actual human. But that's the problem I think that content creators have, right? Versus like, a Caerliss or somebody who doesn't really do a lot of RTA, is that I know what Mevlin is going to draft. I know what Shuffles is going to draft. I know what YD is going to draft. And even if you're not climbing, or even if you're not a content creator, right, you're going to run into, especially when you get to high champ, when you get to legend, you're going to be running into the same people over and over again. And you're going to go, oh, previous to ML Crow, I just banned Sui Starks a tie win and I win, or I try to ban something that Potato Balls brings out and still probably lose because it's Potato Balls. But if you are a person who doesn't climb until the very, very end, I don't know what you have. I don't know what you're gravitating to this season. Now, Kyojin, last official season, you pushed real hard on the last day. Are you going to do that again?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I just
'Cause
want to quickly mention that Kyojin, that was my first Twitch stream actually. The day that you climbed, that was the first time I've ever watched any Twitch videos. So you were my first.
Whoa, nice. See, we get a little bit of bromance on the reboot of the Infinite Library.
you can't see me now, but I'm smiling. Yeah, speaking of experience, the end of season 1. So prior to that, I've never streamed, right? So the very first week, it was like kind of like a week and a half before season 1 was ending, is when I started streaming. And the reason why I started was just because I wanted to share, I guess, my experience doing RTA. And you can definitely, I immediately, even though I'm a nobody, right? I was an absolute nobody. You can feel the difference being a streamer or any sort of content creator versus not being one while doing RTA. Because I started, even though I was a nobody, I was getting Sermia banned, I was getting Troublemaker Croza banned, and it was a very interesting experience. So there is a difference, I would say. I don't know how. I guess in terms of pre-banning, it does play a big part.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, at the same time as what you guys were saying, right? As the longer you play, the longer you fight more people, you start to memorize their drafts, so you know what to pre-ban already.
Yep.
But again, what you said as well, some people just come out the woodworks. Some of them maybe just wait until the last day, but they also watch Twitch or are in the know, and they already know what to ban. You don't know what they even drafting, and then you just get screwed over by that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so I think that was like a big thing for me, right? Is I'm very super open about what my units are, where my gear's at, speed, stuff like that. I know that there's a lot of, I think Shuffle's a little on the secretive side about just how fast some of his stuff is. Same with like some other streamers as well. They kind of keep it a little close to the chest. They'll be like, yeah, this one's it's fast. Let's just say that this unit's fast, but the more that you stream RTA, the more people are going to know, hey, this person picks Alencia all the time. And you can always kind of tell too when somebody watches your stream in that, they'll ban a Captain Rickorus, and you're like, wait, why did you just ban my... Nobody bans Captain Rickorus, you screen sniper. And one of the things last season, the last day I was trying to stream as well, first off, my internet was doo-doo, but I did find that I did run into screen snipers and gatekeepers on the last day. So for me, I know that like right now I'm pushing a little bit off stream, and I want to get into a nice spot, at least like a semi-comfy spot, because I think right now the cutoff is going up by like 20 to 30 points like a day. And I remember last season, that last day was crazy stressful in how fast the cutoff for Legend like just exploded. And you just had all these people that were just like, they thought that they were extra comfy and where they were on the Legend, not being so comfy around the last couple of hours of that. But speaking of this season, that will segue us into the next question here.
I kind of realized there's one benefit being a content creator or specifically a Twitch streamer. You got so many people in chat helping you out. I've come to realize, like, you know, if you meet, like, you fight somebody, and sometimes someone in chat will like tell you what they have and everything. So
That's
that's, I
yeah.
think, one of the benefits of being a content creator is like you have a community that's working together to actually, because everyone wants to see you be a legend, right? Everyone in chat is
Right.
there. Oh, mostly everyone in chat wants to be there to see you hit legend, and they'll probably help you out most of the time.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I have all kinds of people that I like throw ideas around with, and you know, bounce stuff off of chat, and then they'll come through and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, no, this guy just banned this," and you're like, "Oh, okay,
Right,
absolutely,
exactly.
absolutely done." But we're gonna move into the next question, and this is something that I'm kind of interested in. I'm absolutely happy that they gave Sage Ball an S3. Finally, you know, justice for Sage Ball. I know this is going to make Liminal extra strong. He might not actually need to DDoS anybody in the upcoming future tournaments if we get this through here. But how do you feel about the Sage Ball changes and the true damage meta? As we know, you see a ton of ML Crow, a lot of people that are just raw picking ML Haste now, not into Revive, just because the tanky bruiser meta is huge and the pure damage from those is really, really big. Now, I have seen a lot of theory crafting when it comes to Sage Ball, and you know, I have been working on building mine that I don't have. Literally the only unit in the game. I wish I actually did have him. But Mevlin, how do you feel about those, and what do you think of the true damage meta?
I mean, SG has a cycle. It's been for constantly for a while now, whether they fix a problem with another problem. So they're fixing tanks with true damage, and now we're gonna have a true damage problem. And I think eventually they're gonna add like some form of like non-crit mitigation, similar to like an opposite of like a Carmen's S2.
Hmm.
So like we have like a lot of like crit mitigation, right? So I think they're eventually gonna. I think we do need some form of like non-crit mitigation to deal with all of these true damage, meta damage dealers eventually. But it's kind of funny how we complain about tank meta, but this is the solution to the tank meta, true damage. So I think this is a good change in the game. At the very least, I think having some changes to the meta is good in itself. So I'm kind of happy that they're trying new things out. And you know, whether it works or not, it's still a fun process to try new things and like play things out.
Yeah, Caerliss?
So first off, with Sage Ball, I'm actually really excited to see those changes in action. I already have a few ideas, and personally, I was one of the guys that thought that Sage Ball, although he's definitely a very situational pick, he did have his uses in the current, I don't want to say current meta, but definitely in just current RTA. I do believe that these changes are going to make him a much more easier pick into really many different kinds of drafts, and possibly to the same extent as a kind of Dizzy pick too. I see a lot of people actually probably putting him on similar gear to counter Dizzy, just because you have him there as a potential speed threat, because he will start boosting himself, but also because he does provide some of that crowd control capabilities. And plus, it's really hard to kind of predict where he's going to fall on that CR bar while he gets his boost. So it's just another thing they'll kind of play around with the RNG. Now, as far as true damage, I do believe that a lot of these units are definitely good. I mean, they have their place in the current meta. Now, as far as whether or not they're as strong as some people say, they definitely are, but I don't think it's just because of the true damage, but also because of what else is in their kit. I mean, if you look at ML Crow, yeah, his true damage is really good, but another reason why a lot of people start with him is because of that AoE ability to throw out immunity on all of his units and all of his teammates, and also the ability to really cycle that um, skill with every AoE hit. Not only that, but damage mitigation too, of course. And you can't downplay the true damage as well. The same goes for haste. He's just a good pick because of the things that he brings as well. He brings the mitigation, he brings the true damage on his S3, and also it makes your opponent have to really be very considerate of what they pick. They can't just go blind made Chloe with a plan to ban out ML Haste, because that means that if they go ML Haste, then let's just say um, Luluka, well, what are you going to do now? You have to ban one or the other, and chances are, you don't. It opens up the opponent to a better draft, and they can play around that. So it's not so much that the true damage meta is a thing, but really these kits that are really starting to get a little bit out of control, just because it seems like nowadays Smilegate likes to release units that do maybe one too many things in their kit, but that's my take.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with you there that it's not specifically, you're not specifically picking ML Haste or ML Kraut just for the true damage, but at the same time, if it was the same kit on somebody who was mitigated by defense, I don't think that it would be as good. You wouldn't see as many like ML Haste raw picks into non-revivers, right? And I think that it would be interesting to see if they continue down this path, if people would shy a bit more away from like heavy defense in favor of more HP, right? So maybe instead of like a defense main stat ring to get like, 1700 defense and 25k HP, if it becomes more of a problem, would they potentially see somebody switching to, well, I'm just going to put 30k HP on here instead of that defense, because it's just going to be ignored by insert whoever anyways, and you could see just more of a shift towards like HP inflation versus
they would have to change how Frenzy works, I think, before that happens, just because Frenzy doesn't have the same effects on defense as it does for HP. So
Right.
especially when you're looking at these longer fights, having that extra defense is going to benefit you a lot more than having the extra HP. So it really depends if they make any changes to Frenzy or any other abilities to kind of give you the reason to go heavier into HP or things that scale later on into RTA fights.
Right. Cool. And Kyojin, what is your opinion on these?
Well, I think you guys pretty much nailed everything. I think it's also the combination of all the units, right? You pretty much have to pick your poison, right? Either you let ML Haste through, or let ML Crowd through, or you pre-ban one of those ones, and then you have to deal with something else. Especially with like ML Luluka and all that stuff nowadays.
Yeah, and I think honestly, the ML Luluka really made a big splash, especially like in RTA, right? Because before it was, okay, cool, you drafted RB, I draft ML Haste, and you just ban ML Haste, and I have to go, do I ban the RB because you're gonna ban Haste, and then potentially mess up and you don't, or anything like that. At least with like top model Luluka, now you can go, oh, you first picked RB, I pick these two, pick which one you want your RB destroyed by. Which is actually interesting because I'm gonna probably do a video on how top model Luluka inadvertently shifted the meta just by existing, and I wanted to talk about something like that, but that's a whole completely other topic, right? But to Caerliss's point, I do think that the kits that they come with, and like the artifacts they have access to, stuff like that is like really, really big, because with your ML Haste, you can run Idol's Cheer, which is a very typical artifact to run on the ML Haste. And so not only do you have the true damage, not only do you have the mitigation, not only do you have strip on him, but if you try to hit him and he's going to be extra thick, you're just pushing a Stenny forward, a top model Luluka, literally whatever a Rylet, whatever your DPS is. And they're just,
I was gonna say that if you look at the characters with true damage, so far it's Knights and Soul Weavers, two of the classes that have really crazy artifacts, like so many choices, and now they're adding a mage.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, there's really 3 broken classes in the game, and like those are the ones with true damage as well. I guess we just need a thief unit with a true damage now, and the game's going to be really, really good.
Right, and then they will just never give one to warriors because the only warrior artifacts that exist are Sigurd's Scythe.
Yep.
Pretty much. Justice for warrior artifacts. But yeah, somebody said Rylet. That's 50%, which I mean is still defense pen. It's defense, just straight up defense ignoring damage. That is going to be huge. Oh yeah, Draco Plate too. My bad. There's 2 artifacts for warriors that exist: Draco Plate and Sigurd's Scythe. But I am super excited to see this, and I'm looking forward to Liminal making his way into the December tournament, because I remember when Liminal dropped the Sage Ball in that first Champ Cup. It was really awesome, and I completely agree with Caerliss that Sage Ball has, even before the buffs, he has a spot that can, be filled. It's just, I think with the S3 and some of the changes, he's just going to be just really, really good. It'll be interesting to see just how much he gets played with everybody just dumping on him for ages.
So speaking specifically for Sage Ball, do you guys think, because right now there's only one build for Sage Ball, right, which is the like 250, 260 speed. Do you guys think there would be more, like with this S3 change, do you think there's going to be potentially different builds for Sage Ball now, or are we still only going to see the super fast ones?
Well, I see some people maybe trying to throw on similar gear to what you would throw on a counter Dizzy onto Sage Ball.
Ooh,
Personally.
that would be pretty fun. What's this S1 again? It's a sleep, right? It's like a Fire Tanny.
Yeah, doesn't he also get a CR boost on his S1 too when he does sleep? I'm trying to remember back on the buffs.
I remember too.
I believe so. Yeah. But I mean, I completely agree. He'll be a bit of a control unit. And
it's gonna be interesting to see, like, if you see a Sage Ball, you have to think, is this gonna be the fast version or is it gonna be the slow counter version? I think it's gonna be
At that point, I'm not even sure if you could really plan for that, because even if you think it's going to be the slow version, I mean, all it takes is one counter and a sleep, and really he's going to start gaining CR where you might as well just be a speed unit after your first turn. So
I mean, you could try to bring immunity, but then like you'd be countered by the speed version. It's like, what do you do?
And honestly, those are units that I really, really enjoy, because you're right. You never really know this is what this unit's going to do. It's like, I mean, you don't really see too many Bikens in RTA, right? But, Biken can be built as I'm going to just push this forward with Oxlots, delete 2 units, or it's going to be I'm super, super fast and going to delete, this SSB, which, I want to see Caerliss drop a Biken again, because it's been a while since I saw that. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he is built. And like I said, I love when units when they have those multiple types of builds, even if one is maybe not the best in slot, it still has it's a different thing for your kit, right?
Speed Immelken is best build.
Hey, you know what? Actually, Mevlin, I want to talk to you. I need to make a just disgustingly good speed ML Ken. We're gonna do that because I want to show people who's the best with ML Ken. I feel like justice for my boy, man. He's my favorite ML in the game, and maybe one day I'll make him work. But we're going on to the next question here. Recently they changed it so that now when you go into your RTA match, you know who has the first pick. Now, this is something that was actually discussed for my tournament specifically, because we did try to do, like rotating first picks, right? And it brought up the fact that if you know who has first pick, you can pre-ban differently than if it was just straight RNG, right? So like, let's say before Top Model Luca, you knew that your opponent had first pick, or you had first pick, ban ML Haste, pick RB. Now, what do you have? Ban Rowana, pick SSB type of deal. So with that, do you think that that changes the way that people are going to draft at the higher end of RTA? I know that most people probably aren't, really paying too much attention to that. But I know personally, if I know I have first pick, you like ban RB, pick ML Crow. If I have second pick, ban ML Crow. That's typically how I do it. But Mevlin, what about you?
Honestly, trying to think right now, but I'm honestly not sure. I feel like it does have an impact, but it's not as much as I think it is. Because before, yeah, in your tournament, we've seen like people who have ML Crowd pre-ban ML Crowd just because they didn't want to deal with the 50-50%. So maybe I think for me specifically, just because I draft like extremely weird, and like I think nobody really drafts the way I do, or like nobody really steals the unit I have anyway, so it's a lot doesn't affect me as much, so I might not be the best person to ask this. Also, I never actually notice. I always forget to check because when I'm streaming, I'm looking at chat when it's queuing, right? And I always forget to check whether I get first pick or not. So I'm probably the worst person to ask this right now, but I do think it does have an impact for other people. But for me specifically, I just don't see a difference for now.
That's fair. Caerliss, what is your experience?
So personally, it doesn't really impact me too much. So the way that I look at that change is it benefits RTA, I think, in the long run, but it also punishes people who like to rely on a single comp or maybe don't have a large unit pool. The first thing that always comes to mind is, and I hate to bully Shuffles here because it seems like we're always picking on him, but with Shuffles, I see time and time again people pre-banning his Athletica or one of his cleave units, which normally forces him into a bruiser comp. And then when they have first pick, they pick his Alencia.
Mm.
Well, that's just because they know that they had first pick. And that's the only reason they picked Alencia first is because Shovels has a pretty good Alencia. And they just know that that's generally one of the units that he goes forward with. Now, the same could be said with any top level draft, especially if you know the person, they like to kind of focus on a certain kind of comp or rely on a certain comp. It could definitely be used to kind of give you an advantage against them. Of course, it goes the opposite way too. I mean, it's nice, but at the same time, I could see it definitely impacting some people with a smaller unit pool. But overall, I do think it is a better change, and it was going to happen sooner or later. Um, but I do think it also adds a level of uh, planning, and also it really rewards you if you do kind of pay attention to these people that you're drafting against in your bracket. So that's nice too. But in a tournament scenario where you like to try to share who gets first pick, I kind of wish that they still added something along the lines of, especially in mock battles, you could choose who goes first and who goes second, or randomize it.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's probably going to come down the line sooner or later.
Yeah,
But
it is
overall,
something that I have talked to, I've mentioned to the CMs before, hey, this would be kind of cool if you added this in, or hey, give us more control over the mock rooms.
Yeah, I think overall I'm okay with the change. The biggest complaint and the biggest thing that I do agree with, the majority of the audience, I believe, is if you're going to make this kind of change, at least wait until the end of the season and just do it during preseason first. Stop making these major changes with
Yeah,
how
like
drafts go in the middle of the season or towards the end of the season, because you're just causing havoc. I do like and I do appreciate that they changed that they're going to wait on the buffs until the end of the season or the season ends. But this change was nothing that was needed absolutely right now. They could have just said it's going to come out after this season ends. I don't understand why they didn't wait.
Yeah, for sure. And I was actually going to mention that they could have just went in with the buffs that they waited until the end of the season to run through. Actually, I mean, could you imagine if they put out like the Cerise LQC buffs like this week right before the end? That would have been insane. But yeah,
which
like one of the things that you mentioned, Caerliss, is that as you pay attention to more of the people in your bracket, as you pay attention, like it benefits you. Also, something too that I think the upside of it is that it will force people to grow as players, right? You can't just hunker down and only play one style or like one draft. And you got to build that pool of units because I know people like you, Caerliss, you're able to kind of just like switch your draft on a dime. And I've been trying to get to that point myself, been trying out a lot of different stuff because when you talk about shuffles, and I hope that he does watch this at some point. If you do shuffles, we like you because you play 7,000 matches a season and we all just know you. So but at the same time, again, how to do that, and having that first pick can really throw the wrenches in somebody who's not ready to just be able to flip to, oh, you banned out my cleave and you picked my bruisers, looks like we're going control or something along those lines, or having that alternative. One thing I always like to do is every like 2 or 3 weeks I would completely shift like my gear around to a completely different character because people would ban or pick my Alencia, and I'm just like, haha, joke's on you. All of this gear is now on a Ravi. So that was a wasted ban or pick. But Kyojin, what do you guys think? What do you think about the change?
I think you guys pretty much since I'm last is you guys run through it all already.
we're starting with you next. You're gonna be the first person next, Kyojin. No, that's how we're doing it. So
can I disagree with Caerliss real quick? I don't think it was a good change. I actually like I think you mentioned that it takes a little bit of skill to like when you know whether you're first pick or not, but I think it takes a lot more skill having to having to play either way. You have to like play whether or not you get first pick and having to pre-ban that correctly. I think that takes a little bit more skill. Maybe it's just my personal preference with RNG. Like you can see my teams, I do play like a lot of RNG teams, so maybe I do like the RNG aspect of not knowing whether or not your first pick or second pick. And also it only affects your pre-ban, right? It doesn't really change anything else aside from your pre-ban. So I think that's the reason why I think it doesn't really affect as much as we think it does.
I will completely disagree with you, Mevlin, because it does affect your pre-ban. It also affects whether or not you get last pick, which honestly, in my opinion, last pick is one of the strongest picks.
We're just talking about the knowledge of knowing whether or not you get first pick, right?
Right. Well, you get first. If you get first pick and if who gets last pick.
So
I see. Yeah.
To kind of add to that, and Shogun, I actually agree with you there. Personally, I find last pick much more valuable than first pick because you can't respond to last pick. So, for example, and this is one of the things I generally do against when I was climbing against lower ranked players, is when I have second pick, I'm actually happy because I'll generally always ban out FCC just so I could see what my opponent's first pick is, and I could also see what my opponent's ban is. And from there, I can know, okay, am I going to cleave them or not? Because I have last pick, so I know exactly what draft I'm going to be going up against. And I also know, well, I have the ability to pick a unit that I know they're either going to have to ban out or is going to be really good against that draft. So that's something that's really beneficial for cleavers. Now, I'm not sure if that would be as beneficial in like a legend tier scenario or not, because generally people are already planning ahead for that. But that's just an example of how powerful the ability of knowing exactly who has first and who has last pick is. Not only that, but depending on how many units you have, you could kind of plan around what your draft's going to look like if you have first pick, just because you know, okay, my opponent has last pick, so I kind of have to be very careful with what I want to ban out here. Do I want to ban out a Roana in case I do want to go SSB, just so I know that my opponent can't last pick a Roana on me? Now, I'm not saying that people are going to do that, but it's just the options there for that.
Yeah, I completely agree with there. Yeah. So, like one point to note out is that in the last major tournament, Kaon was in, I think he was in the top 4, right? And so the matches that Kaon did, he was cleaving. Now, whenever he had the last pick, he always drafted perfectly so that he could answer whatever the opponent picked. He could either go, I'm going to go cleave control, or I'm going to go cleave damage, or, he always left that last spot to be that variable spot that you can't respond to. Like Caerliss was saying, if I have last pick and you pick SSB in your draft anywhere and leave me with a Rowana last pick, well, guess what? You can guarantee that's gonna be a Rowana to answer your SSB. So I do think that it adds a lot more like big brain stress to it. Whether people buy into that and work around that, I think that as it goes along, it's going to force more people at the top tier to really have to plan that out and really think about that, which is why I'm going to probably just stay in champion, because that's way too much brain power for my boomer self to crank out. Me and Mevlin are just going to stay in champ and play with fast ML Ken. But we're going to move on to question number 4. Speaking of future RTA seasons, do you think, with how this season has went, will the future RTA seasons just become harder and harder to climb with every subsequent season? And Kyojin, you're first.
I think so, definitely, because look at how much points that it's already at now, right? Compared to season 1. Season 1 was like 3.1 roughly, around the end, and now this season's not even over yet, and it's already surpassed that, no?
Yeah, it's definitely up there. Now, Kyojin, question for you. Do you think that is just because more people are getting more gear and more units, or do you think that that's because more people are trying to push for the legend frame, because it is a little bit of a pretty frame, and you also get the right to flex that frame?
It's definitely the frame, but yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, I don't know. I think his frame is very nice. So at least that's my incentive, right?
Yep.
I wanna flex that nice frame.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely the same. Caerliss, since we're going backwards this time around, what about you? What do you think?
I don't see how it's ever going to be any easier to climb in future seasons than it was in the first season without a massive change as far as how RTA works or something changing from Smilegate. The reason being, as you mentioned, Shogun, it's going to come down to people are going to be still collecting that gear, and generally the people who spend money and farm, they've already hit that ceiling where the gear that they're really farming for the most part, are just marginal gains, whereas the people who might be spending a fraction of what some of those people do, they're looking for those big upgrades, and they'll get those big upgrades over time. And same with just unit pulls. The longer the game goes on and the more people play, they're going to increase their unit pool. They're going to get the Mulligore that they need. They're going to get the gear that they need, and they're going to be able to at least to play on as close to equal footing as some people who already have the gear that they need. Now, yes, those margins are going to matter when it comes to certain comps against their opposite or their mirror matches, such as bruiser fights is always going to come down to who has the better gear and who made the better comp. But I do think that it's going to be a much harder time climbing, especially because people are going to be trying to transition from cleave teams to bruiser teams, especially if they're trying to push for a higher tier legend. And I know people love those bruiser fights, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, no, for sure. And one of the things that you brought up is that the gear gap per se, over the course of time. Now, obviously, we're getting a completely brand new hunt, which is going to, throw a little bit of a gear, a wrench in those gears. But over time, when you get to a certain level of gear, you're right. You're looking for, does this piece of gear have 2 more crit chance than the exact same chess piece that I've rolled, 17 times? Does this one have 1 more speed? Whereas somebody who, hasn't farmed nearly as much as like you or Nam or Aetherbulge, they are going to be getting quicker upgrades, because as time goes on, they're going to be getting those ones where people like us, we're looking at it like, man, this isn't really that good. And then you'll have people in chat that are like, bro, I would literally sell my grandma for a piece of gear like that. Like, not even joking, bro. I got a grandma. I can just send her over to your house if you can find a way that Smilegate can shift that over to my account. And I would probably be like, you know what? Hey, if I could, man, I would love some grandma cooking right now, especially for Thanksgiving. But, as long as they wait on making level 100 gear, which I'm sure it will come eventually, and it'll just blow stats even further through the ceiling, there will be that catch up.
I will say this much. I think where whales and people that are willing to spend money in this game are going to find their advantage in the future when gear's on a much more smaller scale of difference between players. I think they're going to see their increase in win rate coming from having different versions of the same unit built. And I've been saying this for a while now, but I already see people building 2 RBs, 1 counter, 1 speed with damage. And I think that's going to be a very reoccurring trend, especially as the game keeps on getting older and people are getting more and more sets of gear. I think you're going to start seeing more and more people run 2 copies of certain units, just to really throw off their opponents, or just so they don't have to kick themselves for thinking, man, I really wish I didn't change my Roel build from that tanky comp to an ER comp. I wish I had those extra tank stats still. And you'll have people that will actually have 2 Roel builds. You'll have people that have 2 Crow builds built, 1 fast, 1 with ER. And I could see that becoming a much more familiar trend as the game gets older.
Yeah, I mean, I'm literally at the point where, I mean, I have to use my plus 15 SSB for my Wyvern one-shot team, and I've got this other drink SSB. I call her that because I had to pull for a second drink, and I got a double SSB in the time it took me to get 1 drink. But I've thought about building, remaking my second SSB just for Wyvern 13. But at the same time, I'm like, man, I would have to put so many Molagoras into that, and I can't justify that right now. But, and I'm a pretty big whale when it comes to things like that. But I do think that Molagoras are getting a lot better. So maybe one of these days, right?
I already did Shogun. My second SSB is already plus 13 just for Wyvern 13.
That's gross. That's gross, and I'm probably right behind you, which is real sad. But while I, suffer with my internalized depression here over my second SSB, Mevlin, what do you think?
I mean, as a free-to-play player, I'm kind of scared right now, having to worry about 2 different versions of 2 different heroes. But I mean, it's always going to be harder and harder and harder, just because they're not removing heroes, right? They're always adding heroes. They're always making old heroes be more meta. So the more heroes there are to pull, the more different pieces you got to think about, the more possibilities there are. It's sort of like a chess game, right? Except the rules change every time. And that's why the game is always going to be fun, for me at least, because it's never going to be stale. There's always going to be something new to try out. It's always going to be a puzzle to figure out. So I think it's never going to be easier, which I think is a good thing. We as players, we always get better. So if it never gets harder, then we probably just going to reach a point where it's too easy, right? So
right. And I think one of the things too, you mentioned they just keep bringing out more and more things, right? One of the things that I like the most about Epic 7 is that a lot of the new stuff that they bring out isn't there's not much power creep, so it's not a must pull, right? If you've got Blue Tywin and you're trying to cleave, you don't need Flan. But if you're an Omega Whale and you have everything and you pull Flan, then somebody somewhere is going to come up with some big brain Flan strat, and potentially in the future as well. And I think that actually really helps out a lot when it comes to leveling the playing field just a little bit, is that you don't have the newest character being if you don't have this, good luck ever getting to legend in arena, RTA, whatever, because a lot of the older units are still meta for a reason. I mean, you got FCC, you've got RB, you've got Ruel that have been here for ages, and they've withstood the test of time. Now you also have other units that can kind of take those places, units that phase things in and out of the meta. But I mean, I personally do think that it will be harder to climb in the future, and if they ever put like real rewards into RTA, like, good luck.
Yeah, I think what gets harder is the drafting phase, because they're not, like you said, they're not putting a power creep up. It's more of like counter picks. They're
Yep.
releasing like ways to beat other heroes easily, and so it makes the drafting so much harder every time they do that. And speaking of gear, yeah, I do think gear has come to a point where we're all pretty close. Like as a free to play player, I think my gear is still Pepega, but I'm slowly getting there. And it feels like the gap is getting smaller and smaller for me. So it's not about gear anymore. It's about your collection of heroes and what, like, do you have a plan for every single like threats in the game? Do you have a plan for if someone goes RB? Do you have a plan for if someone goes ML Taiwan? That's pretty much all it is in the game. You gotta have a plan for everything, and having all these heroes makes the game better.
Yeah, no, completely agree with you there. And that is like probably one of my favorite things about RTA, is having that plan. They pick this, okay, sweet, I can pick this and this, or something along those lines, and then trying to mind game them into messing up their draft with being able to do my own draft and stuff like that. So I definitely think that while it will be harder to climb in the future, like I said, especially if they were to put in any sort of real rewards other than just the skin, if there was like, hey, if you're up here in legend, you get something maybe besides the frame. I mean, the frame alone is worth the climb, just so that you can flex on people on Facebook and Reddit, right? And just be like, oh, that's weird, I don't see your legend frame here. But I'm also very, very toxic, so I feel like for people who aren't as toxic, it might not be as much of a prize. But for me, I want to be able to flex on bad players on Facebook. So that's the real reward at the end of the day for me. But that was our fourth question, and we're going to go into open discussion. In open discussion, each one of you is going to be able to bring up anything that you want to bring up, and we will discuss that for a little bit while I look for questions from chat for the next section. So we're going to start with you, Kyojin, so that you can go first. What's currently going on in the game that you want to talk about?
Well, since I don't have Fallen Cecilia, I get wrecked by her a lot. So, I mean, that's what's been happening as of late. I don't know. I've kind of been off and on with E7 at the moment because it feels like it's almost dry. Right? Well, everyone's kind of picking the same unit. Sometimes you get some people that do some nice things, like Mevlin. I like his comps. It's different, right? And they do fun things. Yeah.
So you said that you're a little off and on because it is a little stale for you. Is it stale in the PvE, PvP standpoint? I mean, we're getting the new hunt, but I mean, I guess like once people have that figured out, it will be very back to just grinding the same thing on auto. But
I guess
where, yeah.
can I ask, like, what would make the game not stale for you? Like
Well,
what changes do you think?
well, the PvE stuff I think is fine. I think it's fine as it is because it's a gacha game, mobile game, right? You're not expecting some mind blowing MMO type experience, right? Running dungeons together with people. You're just putting stuff on auto. But I think they could definitely spice things up and do some I don't know, experimental to I don't know, like a nice actual co-op system in PvE would be nice. Not a oh we're doing the same thing on auto. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. And I think that
For
that's what they
PvE,
tried to do with like expeditions, right? But that just kind of wasn't it. What would you think, Kyojin? What would you think if they put in um a mode in RTA where and hear me out on this because this is like revolutionary and very very never done before, but what if they had a mode in RTA where you could put in, like, let's say before the match started you picked 16 units, and it would randomize the units that you could use along with your opponent. I think
Sounds like a great.
that sounds like a fun thing to do in mock battle, but actual RTA, no, that sounds
yeah, no, it wouldn't be like ranked ladder or anything like that. You would just
Oh, if it's just for fun, then yeah, a casual thing, yeah, absolutely. You could just random ass whatever if there's no stakes involved. I feel like it doesn't matter.
Someone
Yeah.
should start a tournament or something. Like
somebody
maybe,
should
like,
start a tournament where they do that. I think that it would be very very interesting and very fun. Somebody should definitely do that one day. I really one of the things I've really always wanted them to do was like different modes, like fun modes for RTA, because I mean they put out no duplicate classes, and that was fun for like 3 minutes, and then like
That's the
nobody
thing,
really
though.
does that. Yeah.
That's the thing, though. Like, it would probably be the same with that idea. It would be fun for like, oh yeah, it's there, oh it exists.
Right.
And then no one's really gonna pick it because everyone's gonna kind of be doing. They're gonna be using the actual, what do you call it? The no, whatever RTA is right now, right? Just how the normal RTA,
Yeah, they
and
just do normal ladder.
just use it for practice to not that like in mock battle, right? They'll do
yeah.
that to practice against other people, unless you're doing a tournament which is involving these crazy options.
Right. But I do think though, like you had brought up, is that yeah, you go into a mock battle room and you're like, oh okay, this is fun, but there's no real reward other than just beating your friends or randos, or if there is a tournament, right? So if they did make some sort of ladder for that, like let's say it's not even like
2 separate ladders would,
yeah,
I
two
think.
separate, but then the problem is with that is now you're splitting the community, right? And I think that I've talked about that previously with somebody where it was like if they made a nat 3-star only, I would live in there. That would be my favorite place to, it would be my favorite ladder ever.
What if they change preseason into a seasonal like fun season where we do all these weird RTA game modes for like a quick 2 weeks, and then we go back to the regular season.
That would be
That way, like
that would be a lot of
now
fun
and,
actually.
now and then we get like something fun to do during preseason, which is
It'd be fun
like
for the first preseason. I don't know if I'd call it fun after the first preseason or the first few weeks, but
Well, what if they, Caerliss, what if they shifted it every time around, right? So like,
so the issue that I have with that is I feel like it's kind of the same issue as having a regular normal season and then a regular special draft season. Is you're going to have people that are going to love it and people that are going to hate it, and I don't think it's going to bring people into RTA that aren't already there. If anything, it'll actually get people to grow more tired of RTA. Who like the normal draft, because well, what are they going to do now? They normally play for RTA. Are they just going to try to find mock battles for the first few weeks of preseason if they don't like how the special draft is?
that's fair.
And then from there, it's going to be like, okay, well, maybe we could do a normal preseason and then a side by side with a special draft preseason. Well, then you have the same issue that we were talking about with just the normal seasons. It's like, well, you're gonna have half the community doing one thing, half the community doing the other thing, and I
Right.
don't know if there's a really good way to implement that. I do like the idea of just having these mock battles that have your special drafts, but again, it's like almost every feature, and it's the same complaints I hear a lot of the time with a lot of the PvE updates too. It's the first few weeks, man, this update's the best update ever. This is really changing the things that you could do in the game. It's going to bring a lot more um, uh, of the community together. It's going to be weeks and weeks of content, and then a few months later, it's like, hey guys, can you hop into my expedition, please? I really need to complete this expedition to get my rewards, please.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, and
I don't know. I feel like having that, using the argument that some people are not going to be happy about it, probably not the best argument for not doing something. Just
when
because
you
no
have
matter,
when you have a majority of the people only playing the game for RTA at the moment, though, and you take away their normal RTA drafts, I mean, what are they going to be doing then for a few weeks while
true.
preseason goes?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, like, sure, I can see where you're coming from, Mevlin, that, I mean, people are going to be unhappy about literally everything that comes into the game,
Yeah,
like the Dagger Sakar missions, which I've been
get
having
it on,
so much fun with, like, just
right?
coming up with crazy meme teams for the, like, Hell Mode Vera. It's like, I gotta bring 4 Rangers to Hell Queen, like, I've literally never thought of doing this before ever, but we're gonna do it now, and it's gonna be butt clenchingly good. But then you also have people that are like, this is too hard for me, and I need this Molagora, and it's not fair. So you're gonna still have people that are not gonna have fun with it, or something like that. But maybe potentially having just those mode and mock battles, and then kind of leaving it up to the community. I think when it comes to RTA, right? A lot of like community tournaments, the community get like gatherings, like the channel 2 RTA rooms. That's where like a lot of that would come into play. Um and yeah.
So, so I think one of the best decisions that Smilegate could make, if they really want to put time towards it in this game, is create some kind of similar to how they have mock battles, only allow us to create our own tournaments in game. Basically, set your roles, then allow people to auto join into a uh, where you're basically put into a pre-existing ladder, or it will create the ladder for you, and basically make it so it's not so much a lobby, but you're actually entering in a 16-man or 32-man tournament against the community. And you could even set it so maybe you buy in with a certain amount of
Tournament mode.
gold. Yeah, kind of like a tournament mode where Smilegate just has it running on their servers. I know it's going to take so much work from their side to actually put together, and there's going to be a whole lot of issues early on, probably with connectivity and all kinds of things. But I really think that if they get something like that put together, they've just created content that would last a community for the next year, because you will have them just creating their own tournaments that really requires no outside person to manage themselves. So
Yeah.
I don't understand why that isn't a focus for them, and why no one's ever talking about that. Maybe they just don't have the infrastructure, but I still think that's something that they should really look into in the future.
Yeah, no, I can completely agree with you, and that sounds like an amazing idea. One of the things like with Epic 7, right, is that, I mean, the PvE modes, you beat them and then you're done. You collect your stuff, you go do your gear, but really the big focus, and I mean the thing that keeps me here, right, is the PvP RTA, for the most part, because that's the real PvP, because everything else is just PvE versus a team that somebody else set up with. That's why I hate Arena. But having that tournament type thing, like, I mean, my tournaments, which self plug here, if you guys are watching this tomorrow when I upload this, make sure you tune in at 7 p.m. Eastern for the November Shotgun Shogun Champions Cup, Winter Snowdown Champions Cup. But one of the things with like my tournaments is that I've had people specifically like reach out to me, and they're like, hey, I was about to quit this game, but having this tournament to like work towards kind of, lit a fire under my ass to go get my gear, go watch stuff, learn how to, do all of this do all of this drafting, things like that. And for me, I was like, man, I just like casting this stuff. So, I'm glad that I can, hey, if Smilegate isn't going to do it, we'll do it as the community. And I'm really surprised that there hasn't been more of that. I mean, I know kind of, early on, there were a lot of different tournaments, and then people got busy, people moved on, stuff like that. But, as a community, especially if you had like the tournament mode just in general, I think that would be super awesome.
And that's my concern is the moment people like you, Shogun, or even Shuffles and Mevlin, everybody who puts together these community tournaments, the moment you guys stop doing that, it's going to put Smilegate in a very awkward situation, I think, because that is what draws a lot of people to the PvP scene. And that's why I think where something like that, where you have these tournament modes in game and you set a scheduled date, basically you show up. If you don't, you forfeit your match. I know, again, I know that's going to take a lot of work, but I feel like it's something that they really need to focus on just because it is self creating content for your game at that point. You don't have to worry about people hating going into normal ladder or mock battles. You set up something, you could either have it give out rewards, have it not give out rewards, but also allows them as a company to utilize their own game basically
Yeah.
for tournaments moving forward if they ever want to run their own tournaments.
So, well, I mean, the thing is, right, is I know for a fact that they had plans, a lot of plans when it comes to like conventions, tournaments, stuff like that. But, well, I mean, we all know that COVID has literally ruined everybody's plans for 2020 and part of 2021. So, I know that there were a lot of things, and definitely, I mean, I provide them pretty much all of the information as well. And, for my tournaments, I talk to new Mashu about, the future of RTA and PvP. And I know a lot of people are like, haha, esports, Epic 7 esports is a joke. But like one of the things, like even, like when Epic 7 first came out, right? And I knew that they were, kind of poaching things here and there from Summoners War, and they had RTA. I had like talked to friends of mine, and I'm like, look, man, I'm like the first mobile game that can really capitalize on that like esports feel, like the competitive PvP head to head. Really going to make a big splash in the market, because I mean, when you play a PvE game, mobile game, what is there, Caerliss? Do we flex our 72 Astolfos that we have sitting in our secondary archive? There's only so much that you can flex in a PvE game, but when it comes to PvP, you can flex endlessly.
Trust me, I have ideas for a PvE way to get more people into the PvE scene that's going to just cause an uproar. So I'm not even going to give a serious argument for it. But personally, I feel like that for things such as Hall of Trials, I understand the better rewards for like rank 1, but I don't understand why there isn't some kind of like border reward for if you're consistent rank 1 in Hall of Trials or something along those lines, just to get more people to kind of put some effort towards it.
I completely agree with you, and I feel like Hall of Trials was their attempt at competitive PvE, but then they just didn't do anything. I just auto get SS or S plus, whatever, I don't even care, and then I'm done. I literally forget about Hall of Trials until the bot on my Discord reminds me that I need to do Hall of Trials before before I go to sleep. That's typically how I deal with Hall of Trials. And even at the beginning, I bought like all of the artifacts that increase your damage. I'm like, bro, I'm gonna go real hard on this. I'm gonna get #1 PvE player. And I was like, man, I'm just gonna go do something else. That's what I'm gonna do. But
speaking of the tournament mode, like I think there's a lot of work involved, like outside the tournament itself. Like having done my first tournament, it takes so much prep and so much work to like get people together, get things like sell like working. And I feel like that's why we're like it's a slow decline of like people making tournaments, because it's so much work. And I think having that end game, like having some form of advertisement, being able to like make people see, yo, there's this tournament coming up. Like all those things being done in the game would really help people like us who make tournaments make us more incentivized to make these tournaments, since a lot of the labor and a lot of the burden is now moved away from us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But we can talk open discussion for like the next 3 or 4 hours between the four of us. Go ahead, Caerliss.
I did have one question though.
Yeah.
Just for open discussion before we move on. So I already have my answer on this, but is there any features or anything in the game that you feel like has become stale, or something that you feel like Smilegate might have kind of forgotten about that
Raids.
could use some kind of updates?
Everything PvE related except for this. Like the
So-
whole even arena,
Raids
bro.
specifically.
Arena is garbage. It's just spam tickets and sky stones, and that's how you go to the top. It's not like season 1. I remember the first few seasons. Oh my god, it was fun. People were going for rank 1. They were getting that promotion. Now nobody's doing shit. It's just
Mhm.
Oh, by the way, can you swear on here?
Yeah, you're fine. I mean, only 42 people watch my YouTube videos. I'm not getting TOS'd on YouTube, so you're good. But I can.
Yeah, but for real, man, PvE is just garbage. Everything's garbage. Abyss is like the only thing that really, even then, a little bit. It's a little bit rage inducing with the RNG involved, but even then, it's more fun because it's hard, right? It's hard. It whoops your ass. You try to beat it, you get
So-
rewarded. Everything else it's just a
I
daily
completely
grind, it
agree
feels
with
like.
some of those points, but even something a little more, what I'm going to call granular, it's not even content that you have to do, but I don't understand why in Mission HQ in the Sanctuary, we don't have missions for hunts where you could just send out a team that gathers just a very minimal amount of a certain hunt material, and also things such as friendship farming from the Mission HQ, where you could set up 4 units, send them out for 12 hours, they come back with a small amount of friendship gain.
Friendship farming would be disgustingly good. Literally, my mission thing, I only run the arena currency because I don't want to do arena.
That's the thing is, I've gotten to the point where I see the mission try again. It's like, okay, try again, I forget about it. Like I just stopped at it and looked at it today. It's like I almost forgot this was a thing in the game because it's just a impulse. Anytime I see it, I just click it and I don't really think about it anymore.
Yeah.
And cool,
Yeah,
I get my
absolutely.
HM coins and my
I mean, early
PvP marks.
early game, it was a good source of like passive XP, but then at this point, like we don't really care, right? Like the passive XP doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
and-
mean, I level up units so fast that the minimal XP and gold that I would get from it, not worth just my arena token, so I don't have to go, or my arena currency, so I don't ever have to do arena.
And that's the thing is, I stopped and thought about it today. It's like, why am I not getting friendship experience for this? And why doesn't missions for hunts actually exist in this game? It's really weird the more you think about it. It's like, I actually feel like that they completely just forgot about that things like the Mission HQ exist in the game.
Yeah,
I mean, they forgot about guardians. Don't guardians have like levels and stuff? And like, there's like more guardians coming
hey,
out.
look, Dagger Sakar was coming soon for like what 2+ years. Guardians will get there, okay, Mevlin. You need to calm down.
Is it? I think there's an achievement for collecting 4
There
guardians
is,
since like
so-
the beginning of the game, and then
Yeah.
there's only 3.
Hey,
So pets,
10-year
level 5
plan.
pets win.
10-year
Level
plan.
5,
guys.
yeah, level 5 pets win too. I have like 400 tickets right now.
Yeah, I actually tried to roll for one of the shiny pets for Halloween. I got like 200 pulls through, and I'm just like, I'm done. I'm not even.
Yeah.
I don't even care.
Shogun, you picked the right time to stop that because it took me 800 tickets to actually get both pets.
I don't even know how you have 800 tickets in the first
I still
place,
have
but
I still have 1,000 left over.
that's ridiculous. I actually get a little tilted now when like one of my rewards in like a web event is like a pet ticket. I'm like, I don't care. I literally don't. I hate this. Yeah, let me just like mass. Oh, we need to be able to mass like release or something pets too, because going through one at a time, I'm just like, oh my god, just kill me. So tedious. What'd you say, Mevlin?
Oh, just throw in the grinder.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah,
have
just
a grinder and just throw them on there.
chuck them into a grinder. Give me my like 1K gold out of that. But we're gonna go to some questions from chat. I have a couple of them. While we're going through these, chat, make sure you at me with any questions, and we'll try to get a couple of these in here and go from there. So D Derp Turtle says, my question: when do you guys think E7 will have a bedroom background pack? I've been asking for it for months. I think because D Derp Turtle asked for it specifically for Acades, you're probably going to have to pay New, but New can probably make it happen because New is a degenerate just like D Derp Turtle.
I mean, I like the background pack system. Like it's a very easy, simple thing that's gives me a little bit of satisfaction.
Epic 7 hot springs were supposed to be a thing. I mean, hey, look, other games do the whole like housing area and make mad cash off of it, and people really enjoy making their dormitories or whatever super special for their boat girls. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think Epic 7 could do that they don't do, and I just don't.
Let's see here.
Understand.
What's the list? They have a rep unit that they could actually put on the home screen somewhere, just to like say some of their voice lines every time you go to the lobby. Then there's also the expression system, which when you pick a unit, there's a nice little picture of the unit in the center of your screen that should, I don't understand why it doesn't, but it should just show whatever expression you actually have set for that character, just so you can show off your friendship levels to people that you're fighting against. Like, there's some of these things where it's just like, I don't understand why these don't already exist, because it just feels like a very easy way just to show off some of your achievements in the game, such as Friendship 10 on some units. And also, what gacha game exists that doesn't have a way to just set a rep unit in your lobby?
True.
Yep.
I mean, all I don't want to rub my units. That's the only thing I'm against. If this game adds like rubbing mechanics, I'm instantly uninstalling this game. I am not rubbing anything.
That's not true. He will say he's uninstalling it, and then he is going to head pat Blingo. Just
yeah, I'm gonna forget to close my stream and like spend 12 hours just head patting.
Just
Blingo.
You're like, Blingo, you're such a good boy. I have a really interesting question here from chat. This is from I actually don't know because it messed up when I copy pasted it, but this is a question to each of us. What came first, your play style or your gear? Did your gear dictate your play style? Mevlin, go.
Gear, 100%. I roll effectiveness. I'm a CC player.
Fair.
Easy question.
Caerliss?
I don't know how to answer this question. What happens when you have all the units before you start farming gear?
So what you're saying is it was units before gear.
I
No, not all units. If it has all units, then it's not a deciding factor.
That's
right?
true. That's true. Then
although you're also making the you're also kind of thinking that I actually know what gear I have. Like, I'm finding good pieces of gear every time I go through my equipment manager.
That's literally me. I will go through there and I'll find a piece and I'm like, yo, why isn't this on somebody? When did I even roll this? It's reforged, so obviously I knew at some point that I had this. Plus,
I think this is more of a FTP versus pay to win question, to be honest.
Yeah, I honestly don't know the answer to that. I would assume that gear dictated it a lot, but also the units I had and the units I had built also dictated a lot early game, because if you didn't have the unit mold, you're not going to be using them.
Yeah, like for me, the reason why I have speed MLK is I don't have lifesteal, or I don't have like effect res. I don't have like the typical MLK gear, so that's why I opted to run high speed, high effectiveness, just because that is how my rolls went in my gear. So that's how I was forced to play the game that way.
Yeah. What about you, Kyojin?
Sorry, I was doing something.
No, perfectly fine. The question is, what came first, your playstyle or your gear? Did your gear dictate your playstyle?
Yes, because basically I had to work around my gear, right? I know for a fact my account just refuses to roll speed, so I can't speed contest. I will always lose that battle. And how I opt to work around that was, building Troublemaker Crozet and units that don't revolve around speed. And sometimes I have pieces that allow me to I guess build units with more than above average speed, but not enough to speed contest people. Like let's say my Somia, right? Like a very fast Somia.
Yeah, no,
So
for sure.
yeah,
And we know that
to
what
answer
you
that
were doing was farming wyverns so that you can speed contest people in the future. So it's okay, Kyojin, we understand.
yes.
But no, definitely the same deal for me, right? I mean, I farm so much. I farm a lot, and I have a hard time speed contesting people that probably have not spent as much or farmed as much as I do, because again, I just don't roll speed. It's just what it is. People will flex their 24, 25 speed pieces, and I'm like, I got this one piece that rolled 21 speed. Literally the fastest piece of gear I have on my account is 21 speed. Everything else is like sub 20. So for me, yeah, it mostly dictated my play style in the tanky bruiser. Plus, personally, I just like that play style in general.
I kind of like that play, like the way to play the game too is like have your resources and like figure out the best way to optimize your account with the resources you have. So I do advocate people to look at their gear and don't pick your play style yet. Just like look at what you have and then figure out from there.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, next one. Let's see.
Sharfade has a good one.
Where was
Starfade is a good one.
Wait, hold on. Sharfade? Are you sure?
You
Are we
have
talking
to
about the
say-
same Sharfade? What's the question? I didn't see it.
Is it Charfade 2? Because definitely that Charfade 1.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh, hold on. Are we
So-
talking about what can we do to solve the problem that only DPS with self-defense mechanisms like Stenny or Rylet Arby and other stuff are the only ones that work nowadays problem?
I got a good one. I got a good kind of answer and also segue into another question for this. But
Okay.
what DPS units are we thinking of that don't fall into that? Like, what DPS units do we want to utilize that don't have a self defense?
I want to see. Well, I think there's like a turn 0 defense mechanisms, like all the heroes being listed, but there are also heroes with like turn 1 defense mechanism, like say Melissa, who has like she has what is it called? Immortality.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
Melissa, Blingo, Vivian. So there are here like Violet as well. So there are turn 1 self defense mechanism heroes that actually don't work because of Rylet. I think Rylet is the problem right now.
Derp, we
But,
don't
like, go ahead,
mention Luna around here.
Yeah, so I think like one of the big things, right, is having the turn 0 defense mechanism. That's one of the big things with Landy, right? No defense mechanism. She is literally just offense. And personally, when they gave her buffs, I was a little disappointed that they didn't give her some sort of defensive mechanism, because she needs a way to live to mid frenzy. I see somebody mention LQC, but LQC does have literally a built-in adamant shield for 30%. So
Right, and that's kind of my point. Is everything you always have to draft around kind of what your units are that you're bringing into it. Like a thought that I was looking at here is the only one that I could really think of that is seen a lot in current meta is probably just Fire Ravi, because her only real self defense mechanism that I could really see is her sustain from her lifesteal and just the ability to build her tank. But at the same time, if you have those kind of units where they don't have that defensive mechanism, which one of those units don't you build as a bruiser?
right.
And really every single unit that I could think of, as far as DPS units go, that I would want to use are either a cleave unit or they are a unit that has a defensive mechanism of some kind, such as S10, Green Violets, Rylets. All those units have a way to somewhat sustain. Now, there definitely are self-defense mechanisms that are better than others, such as things that don't rely on a 50% chance of evasion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I really think that they do a good job as far as giving some of these DPS units a way to survive. And if they don't have a way to survive, then I think that's a way of telling us as a player, hey, you have to find a way to either utilize this in a cleave or this unit's meant to be a bruiser unit, like
So
Fire Ravi.
So hold on, real talk here. So you think that Smilegate is going to put out a unit without a turn 0 defensive ability and expect the Epic 7 community to actually think about how to use that in a comp as like a tanky bruiser that is going to be able to survive? I do believe that that you, Caerliss, are a little off the reservation here, and I don't think that is a reasonable expectation for anybody to actually have about the vast majority.
I like to think that Smilegate does some form of testing of units before they release them, and they have an idea as far as where they want that unit to fit.
So, Caerliss, on that point, you were around when they put out original Fire Corvus buffs, right?
Oh yeah.
So I would like to just put that out
Let's
there.
not
That
talk
I don't
about
know.
Fire Corvus.
I think
know
someone in the testing
tested that
development
one.
team. Yeah, I think someone in the development team who is part of the testing side of things was either having a off day or they wanted to cut the day a little early and they didn't get through all their testing.
Somebody was just like, somebody looked at original Fire Corvus and actually said, you know what? Yeah, this is fine. Same with Champ Zerato. Man, these buffs are good.
Yeah, so to the point that I was trying to make is I feel like there are much fewer units out there than we really think that are DPS units that don't have a place in the game because they don't have a defensive mechanism. I think Landy is definitely one of those ones that does fit that criteria where she's definitely missing something. But I think, honestly, I think that's more because of her kit than anything else. And I said this back on, I think it was Sky King's podcast too, when Landy was being announced, is her kit is silly because her kit wants your opponent to have buffs, and at the same time, she's a DPS unit. But what buffs are you hoping to do damage through that your opponent's going to have?
Yeah. Yeah, no, and I think that was the problem too. I also think with Landy, like the focus on this has to have buffs. I think that was one of the things too with Landy that I tried to explain to people is that you have to look at the buffs as this is just an extra positive to get through. Like if the buffs are up, cool. If not, I mean, it is what it is, but she has a ton of CR push, a ton of stuff. So it's like, just get your full charge and then strip their buffs and then cycle back through, just do damage. She was interesting. I really enjoyed her, but I do wish that they would have given her some sort of maybe like some minor life steal on her S1 would have been okay. She's literally green fire green Ranger Ravi.
I wish they went the opposite way of like rather than giving her like more offensive capabilities, they gave her more defensive.
But kind of to the point of what Sharfade was saying is there's always going to be a unit that has a better self-defense mechanism than other units, and that unit's always going to be the one that people want to shift towards. I definitely think units like Spectre Tenebria have the best method of staying alive in the game. Just because it's not a buff you could dispel, it's something that she always has, and it also gives her stats. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Whereas people like Rylot have a buff that can be removed on a miss with Violin. And that's assuming that he doesn't get crit and die anyway when you hit through evasion.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
The thing with these like turn 0 mitigations is that they're really, really safe to like early pick, and that's why they're super popular compared to like if like my Blingo, right? It's really I have to last pick him because I need to have a specific team around him, and if I can't have that specific team, he doesn't work. So it's kind of sort of like, it feels kind of unfair that I have to put all this work to make specific units work, while someone like Stenny and Rylet, you can just first pick it and it could work.
Well, let me ask you a question then, Mevlin. What unit
Sure.
do you want to make work that you can't make work?
Pavel right now.
Pavel?
Yeah.
Dude,
How
I
do
have
you want to
gotten
build your Pavel though? Because I've seen
dumpstered
some
by
really
Pavels.
successful Pavel cleaves.
Yeah, I need my Pavel like super fast, so that's
Right.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then Pavel needs C-Dome. Pavel, like, if I'm doing
Yeah.
Pavel cleave, then I'm gonna have to need C-Dome. So like, it's not true for other heroes, right? It's not true for those like Routes and Stanley, where you don't need a specific unit to be there, or a specific mechanic, or a specific artifact. And it's so much easier to draft those heroes, and that's why I'm not complaining or anything. That's why I think people are saying that these heroes are so strong, because they're very independent. They don't rely on anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that, and there are always going to be those units that just do things in a vacuum better, right? But it's about team. Can this other unit, if you get the draft, do it better in the long run, right? Because it is a team game. That's one of the things I always hate, is that everybody judges a unit 1-to-1, right? There's other things, and then once you start doing that, though, then they put them into like the most perfect situations to make them fail. But like I said earlier in the podcast, I really like the fact that a lot of the units that they put out are side grades or alternatives or counter picks, and there's not that just massive power creep nonstop.
Yeah. I just want to clarify that I completely agree with Caerliss that there are a lot of viable DPS units in the game, a lot more than people think. But at the same time, I understand why people have this mentality that there's only a few.
I mean,
I think
go
the
ahead,
issue
Karis.
is that people really don't like falling into the whole knight meta, and they don't want to pick knights. But what they fail to realize is, if you don't pick knights, you're losing out on so much mitigation. You're basically asking to either get cleaved or just die to someone who's faster than you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. When people ask me how to deal with Arby, I go, what tier are you in RTA? Because if you're not going up against Caerliss's Arby, just bring Adamant Shield Eaton and just put a defense buff up. I'm like, the amount of mitigation when I don't draft tanks, like, I'm just like, why did everything blow up? Why did all of my stuff just instantly fall over and die? And then I'm like, oh, that's right, I don't have Adamant or Arius on my field, so that's probably the reason for that one. But that was definitely a good question, and the DPS is really tough because you're gonna roll towards the meta characters, and people who don't have a ton of extra resources are going to just want the best unit. So it's a little tough to judge those units based off of other things. So I have a question here from Dark Powden. Do you think the RTA meta is phasing out of speed sets in favor of non-speed sets like counter? No. Literally not. I'm not
No.
even Dark, I'm not even going to finish this question because no.
Yeah, we're
speed
done.
sets
We're done with the question.
literally the best. And I actually told people before when they're like, hey, do I need to go do the new hunt? I'm like, do you have literally all the best speed sets in the entire game? If no, probably stick to Wyvern 13 until we can find out how fast the revenge set, I think, right? The one that gives you more speed as you go down in HP. At what threshold is that worth more than a raw speed set? I think that's going to be the big question there. But yeah.
I mean, the thing with Wyvern too is that crit and hit set are both viable options that you can, it works well with speed set as well. That's why I think Wyvern's really strong. Is just those three sets can work together.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, sure, are there some very niche units? Like, I used to be a huge I loved counter sets. I wanted everything in counter sets forever. And then I realized that, like, relying on counter to make your unit do something is just, yeah.
I think it's either speed or lifesteal. That's like the only
I was gonna say a speeder counter. I'm not a huge
Speeder
fan of
counter? Yeah,
lifesteal
lifesteal.
personally.
Yeah. I mean, I like lifesteal on my Rylet and my Teaser, and that's
Mhm.
about it.
Those are the only two units that
Yeah.
should use lifesteal, in my opinion.
I'm
Just those
thinking
two.
Mersa, but I'm not 100% sure if I want my Mersa and lifesteal.
Yeah,
now.
Mersa as well. So
Yeah.
when I think lifesteal units, I really only think of at first Surin and to some degree Rylet.
Oh, yeah,
although
and
I still
Chansey.
think I still feel like speed's best on Rylet. But
I
that's my
think
personal
speed is
opinion.
best in Rylet.
I just
Yeah.
run a tanky bruiser Rylet.
Yeah, Mersa on lifesteal is definitely good, but Mersa is one of those niche picks that doesn't come up too often unless you're against Cleave. So
I love my Mersa. But
Me
yeah.
too.
Yeah, no, I mean there are some options, but even if it's fun, right? Chances are, unless you have just the extra gear to make it fun, you could just slap a speed set on it and just do the same, if not better. Mostly too, because I mean the amount of speed that you lose by going with one of those other sets, unless you have like some speed subs overall, you're just gonna be just dirt slow most of the time. But
so
yeah,
I think
Go ahead,
we
Gross.
took too long on that question, honestly.
yeah, I do
Yeah.
actually have a question that I haven't seen in chat yet, which I'm kind of surprised. But with next week right around the corner, maybe it's because this has already been talked about in past communities, past environments. But what do you guys think of the new hunt sets?
So I think that it's going to take some testing, right? And it's going to take a little while for people to gather good sets with a regular gear, or with like compared to their regular gear. I think that the injury set is going to be good on SSB, like for sure. That's literally the first thing people thought when they saw injury set. It's like, oh, SSB injury set, fantastic. Defense pen is good if you know you can outspeed them. Otherwise you would probably want 2-piece immunity. But I guess you could replace like crit set on like your speedier opener DPSers with the defense pen. I mean, it's 10%. I can't. They don't know. They didn't say if it was going to stack or not, but I can't imagine anybody running 3-piece defense pen, even if it stacks, because it's single target. I'm glad they made it single target instead of for cleave, because I hate cleave. But the revenge set, we're gonna have to see, like I said earlier, where the break point is for where it's better on like a Soul Weaver than just a straight raw speed set. Sorry, I kind of took that one.
I'm not
Mevlin,
I'm not a huge fan of the new sets, to be honest. I think I'm for now sticking to Wyvern until someone figures it out, because I don't have the resources to be the first one to do it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kyojin, what do you think? We haven't heard. I think Kyojin might have taken a nap.
Where'd you go, buddy?
He's on the other
I'm
side of the
still
room.
How I feel on the new sets, I'm just like Mevlin, right? I just don't have the resources to fully invest into a brand new hunt where we don't even know if it's gonna really work or if it's gonna be niche, right? Like a counter set. And yeah, I don't drop mad amount of money to be able to do that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've told people too. They're like, "Yo, I'm gonna start farming this like day one," and I'm like, I don't know that it's gonna replace what you need to for overspeed. Like I always hated being that person that's just like, they're like, "Hey, how do I fix my account?" And I'm like, I don't know. Did you farm Wyvern for the last 3 months? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, we'll farm for another 3 months and then come back and we'll talk. But it's rough, and a lot of people have mentioned, oh, maybe they'll come out with something that'll break the need for speed, and I'm like, that's not going to happen. It's really not. Like, you can say,
do we actually, like, I don't think we want to, right? We don't want to like make old sets obsolete just because it is something, like, it's supposed to be a game that builds on top of itself, so like we don't want to throw away all the progress we've had. So
I mean,
this might be a good step in the right direction, just having new potential like alternatives to the sets. So yeah, having speed set still be a very good set is, I think, still a good for the game.
Yeah, personally, I think injury set is just going to be for SSB and only SSB. I can't think of any other unit I would use a 4-piece set on.
yeah.
The def pen set I think is probably gonna be the one that sees the most use. Just because artifacts such as Crimson Seed exist, Timeless Anchor exists.
That's true, yeah.
And also you have speed units.
Yep.
And that's as much as I'm gonna say on that.
Yeah, you know, I think that, you know, for sure the defense pen will be pretty good, but it's gonna end up coming down to like A13, right? Where you're there for one set, the 2-piece set, and then you're gonna get a bunch of Unity and Rage, and you're gonna be like, oh, okay, guess I'm making a bunch of Unity set units. That's what I'm doing. Everybody thinks it's a meme, but nope, that's what we're doing.
The amount of Unity sets that have the perfect stats on that piece that I have is insane.
Those are
always
my
has
fastest pieces
every
of gear,
single perfect stat.
actually. Yeah, I have I have a 2-piece Unity on my Gunther because both of them have over 40% attack, and I'm like, oh, these are pretty good substats. I'm just gonna throw 3 into it and see what happens, and then it goes into max.
You reforged it?
Fuck yeah, I did. Immediately, I was like, yo, this is some crazy stats. I'm like, we're gonna put this on Gunther. I think like one of my Unity like chess pieces is 21 speed.
Reforging Unity over immunity. That's
hey, I'm just gonna say, I've at one point I had so many reforge mats that like I was just reforging bad immunity sets because I couldn't get good immunity sets, and yeah. So,
Shogun, even if I had 4K A13 mats that I couldn't spend on any of my immunity gear, I would still hold on to it until I had immunity gear. Even if I had a perfectly rolled Unity set piece, I don't think I would ever.
You know what?
It.
Do you have a 12.6% dual attack chance Gunther? You don't. I do. I'm channeling my inner Sama gamer. Okay, triple Unity set Kron, OP. But we've been talking for almost 2 hours now, so I know that we could talk for even longer, and there were a bunch of questions. So any questions that we didn't answer, if you want, when this video goes up, you can go ask those in the comment section, and I'll probably like and heart it, but not answer it, because I'll be like, man, I'm not going to write out a college level dissertation for this one. Or I'll just be like, Wyvern 13. That's the answer to this. They'll be like, what's your favorite waifu? Wyvern 13. That's what my favorite waifu is. So, Mevlin, where can people find you? I know we introduced you at the beginnings, but we're gonna have you do your outro and tell people
another outro. I still haven't practiced my outro. So again, I'm Mevlin. I've been streaming for a month and a half. Twitch.tv/Mevlin TV, and I'll be streaming tonight. If you guys want to hang out, follow me or whatever you want, and I hope I'll see you guys there.
Cool. Caerliss, I know where people can find you in every Twitch chat, but do an outro. I know you probably haven't practiced one, but go for it.
You guys could find me probably in just about any Twitch chat for Epic 7, and possibly on the RTA ladder over the next week while we get closer to the end of the season. If you do run into me on the ladder, good luck. It'll be fun. And we'll see what happens. It's always a experience, and Shogun, thank you again for having me.
No problem. And by the way, Caerliss chat has requested that you make a ASMR channel, so we will be putting the link to Caerliss's ASMR channel in the description in the future.
We'll open that Patreon right after the stream here.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kyojin, where can people find you?
You can find me on twitch.tv /Kyojin_VERO1. I stream 5:30 p.m. GMT plus 11, so Australian time.
What is that in
And you can find me
PST?
doing a variety of things at the moment. So I look forward to seeing you all there. And again, Shogun, I very much appreciate you allowing me to be a guest on this podcast. So thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Good having you here. And I am Shotgun Shogun. Obviously, you are on my Twitch channel or my YouTube channel at the moment, so chances are you already know where to find me. But if you don't know where to find me, it's YouTube. Just search Shotgun Shogun, or actually, if you aren't on my channel, comment down below with where you're actually at watching this. That would be interesting. But if you guys are new here, as always, make sure you like, fave, subscribe, hit the bell notification, follow me on all the stuff that YouTubers tell you to follow them on, comment down below so that we together can beat the YouTube algorithm. I say that every time so that we can fight, and Wildcat is going to come down into the comment section and be like, commenting to beat the YouTube algorithm. Also, every time I do this outro, my dogs think they're going outside, so they're going crazy right now. Joke's on them because I have to render and upload this. But this will be coming out every 2 weeks now. We will be recording it live over on Twitch, The Real Shotgun Shogun, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to watch this before Friday or Saturday or whenever I put this up, make sure you're over there. And I will catch you guys later. Take it easy, homies. Peace.